Hoover's Rotten Apple, Chapter 46. It was a perfect day for a funeral. The whole world bared a hue identical to the smoky film of clouds overhead, and Almond City possessed a mourning silence as well as a rigor mortis stillness. Dale and Elmer's truck was the only automobile parked along the road leading to the Mard Hotel. They remained inside their truck, eyeing the building as though Almond City contained nothing else. Going out of business in 1 week was hand-painted in calligraphy onto the plywood panel boarded over Hotel Skelter's dual front doors. Annexed below the placard was a degree reading "Stay Out, Hazard," and graffitied onto the building's boarded windows was the dogma of an amateur comedian: jump from the second and third floor for insurance money, jump from the fourth or fifth for results. "You sure this is the right place?" Elmer asked, hoping for Dale's response to consist of a laugh and a hell no. "That's what the sign says." "Then this is it." Elmer swallowed and alighted from the truck. Skelter's ground level was inaccessible due to the rigorous boarding over of every potential entrance. The second flight, however, contained 0 board-ups and was chock full of cracked, broken, or altogether missing windows. Lining the building's entire west side alleyway was a zigzag of rustic staircases and ironed porches leading to every one of those fractured windows. Elmer tested the fire escape's sturdiness and found it trustworthy. So he started up to the second story, where Lloyd's room was located. Each step strained the metallic staircase to the point where every bolt and hinge ached and screamed under its weight. Its sound resembled a cave full of startled bats. "Yep, this is definitely the home of Hobo Crow," Elmer said as he topped the first staircase. He stood close enough to the second-story window for his breath to fog the glass. "Get up here and you'll see what I'm yapping about." By the time Dale regrouped with Elmer, the window had been jimmied open enough for the two to crawl inside. The stifling odor of Hotel Skelter's interior brought Dale to his knees. After losing his footing, he sank 3 inches into the spongy, algae-colored carpet. He quickly re-erected himself, for he'd fallen right underneath the unceasing stream of black water leaking from the ceiling, dripping with the speed and precision of a ticking pocket watch. "Someone's got to bucket this place up before the walls collapse and floods the whole state," Dale chuckled while drying the back of his neck with his shirt sleeve. Elmer snickered, and him inhaling the sour air triggered a gag reflex. "Yeah, I thought this was a hotel for people, not fishes." Both laughed again, this time filtering their breath with the shirt collars. Dale's laugh ceased instantaneously as he laid eyes upon Hobo Crow in the flesh, watching them from the doorway. The killer had devilish skin and ivory tusks spinning from his lips, and he had 2 clouds of night for eyes. At second glance, Dale identified this not as a real Hobo Crow, but as a papier-mâché mask simply nailed to the bedroom door, a silent witness to all the atrocities Lloyd committed. "I think I'm gonna puke." "Go ahead, ain't gonna make this place any dirtier. And once you're done tossing your breakfast, I think it's time to come up with a game plan on how we're gonna deal with this Hobo Crow." "Originally, I was hoping we'd find a knife or something, but a knife ain't the best tool for the job now that I think of it. It'll do too much damage. We don't want to kill him. What we ought to do is knock him out with a pipe or something, then turn him in to the police." "Good plan for the long run, but as of now we don't even got nothing to knock him out with. I mean, for a killer's home, this place ain't very lethal. Hell, it don't even look like nobody lives here." This was true. The peeling wallpaper contained no framed photographs, kitchenware, chiffoniers, or bookshelves, and no seats or tables or bed frames were found in between. The only indicator of life within the hotel room was Lloyd's hunting mask. "How about here or there?" Dale pointed at 2 doors, one connected to the south wall and another to the east. "We haven't even checked to see if them doors are openable yet." The east door presumably led to the hotel's outer hallways. Meanwhile, Dale and Elmer were both clueless about the south door's purpose. Therefore, the ambiguous south door drew the most attention. "If I go in, would you follow?" Elmer asked. "Of course." Elmer gulped. "What if I ask you to go in alone? So I can stand guard, you know?" "Or maybe we ought to stop snooping around here altogether. What we need is a blunt object, and we can find those all over the place outside. We can scrap enough junk from some broken-down jalopy to fend off an entire army of Floyds, don't you think? Oh, that's a swell idea, Dale, just swell. Dale and Elmer bounced featherly towards the same window they entered from, amiable as a couple of puppies. Only Dale's nose exited the building, however. The rest of his body froze at the window frame. Contrary to his outer body, his heart began thumping in his chest, as savage as a rabid raccoon trapped in a gunny sack. Peering into the hotel room from the fire exit was the most sinister figure Dale ever encountered. Every one of his features, including his fingernails, chin, hair, and eyes, were sharper than pins. This was no mask, either. "I am the devil," he said through sulphur-colored teeth. "I am Lloyd." Dale shattered into manic screaming before Lloyd's declaration ceased. His entire backside became soggy as he flopped to the floor and clamored to stretch as much space between him and Lloyd as possible. Yet his knees shook with an earthquake's violence, marking any attempt at movement impossible. Lloyd crawled through the window and marched towards Dale. "And you are Elmer, correct?" "No, not Elmer. Dale." "Yes, I'm Hobo Crow and you're Dale Hartsfield." "Elmer, help, please!" Lloyd's animalistic eyes targeted Elmer, and a crooked finger rose in Elmer's direction. "You," Lloyd cheered. "You're Elmer West. Oh, yes, I remember you fondly." As he spoke, he stressed every syllable of every word equally, muddling the sincerity of his statement. Dale picked himself off the floor and regrouped with Elmer. They both stared at Lloyd as though he weren't human, but instead a demon wearing human flesh. Lloyd's voice quieted and smoothed until he resembled a waiter who'd approach guests with a silver platter of shrimp cocktails at a dinner party and only refer to them as sir or ma'am. "Don't worry, you two. No one's gonna hear me yelling from outside. People scream and cry in here all the time, and it's never noticed from outside. It has something to do with the dampness of the walls, I believe. Very strange. What do we do?" Dale and Elmer asked each other in unison. "Excuse me, there will be no secrets in my home. Ask me anything and I'll tell you everything, every bloody, macabre detail I have to offer. I only ask that you do the same, and make sure to project your voice again. These damp walls make it nearly impossible to hear," Lloyd said. "Oh, we was just saying." Elmer clapped his hands together and spoke with plastic charisma. We was just saying. Dale intervened with a much more honest tone. "We was just saying goodbye." And Elmer, he yelled, "Run!" Dale turned for the east door and began strangling the rustic doorknob with both fists. "Shit, shit, shit!" he hissed as the knob refused to budge. "Now, why would I have entered through the window if I could have gone through the door?" Lloyd asked. "If I were you, I would find another way out." "Move out of the way!" Elmer cried to Dale, forcefully unhinging the door with one mule-like kick. He started into the hallway, but failed to make his first step forward before flinging himself back into Lloyd's bedroom. "Oh, dear God," he yelped. "We're trapped!" Dale looked and found that the east door led to no hallway, for the hallway's floor had caved into the flooded basement long ago. Impaled by the hundreds of wooden slivers jutting from the basement's oily waters was yet another liquefied corpse. The broken east door finally splashed onto the body. "Oh, Lord!" Dale cried. The two returned to facing Lloyd. The same blade used to mutilate and tag Sissy was now waving in Lloyd's fist, ready to strike. "If you want to use the hallway, be my guest. Just watch your step is all. The first one's quite the doozy." Elmer shook his head and signaled towards the southern door. "In there!" he shouted, already dodging past Lloyd and towards the south door. Once more, Elmer kicked the door open. Once more, the room contained no floor. Once more, Elmer stepped in with Dale close behind. Only this time, Dale and Elmer didn't notice the drop until it was too late. Chapter 47. "Get off me!" "No, you get off me!" "I'm trying, but you're on me!" An embarrassing minute of writhing and adjusting later, Dale and Elmer untangled from each other, but remained entangled in the gigantic square mesh fish net suspended from the ceiling. The moment Dale rolled off Elmer, he succumbed to nauseous vertigo. The room they'd entered contained only 1 yard of floor lining each wall, and the net they were trapped in drooped over a 1-story drop. At the pit's bottom was more corpse stew and more wooden spikes waiting to impale anyone who fell in. I'd give that rope about 30 minutes before snapping. Lloyd spoke from the semi-solid floor safety. Yes, 30 minutes at most, he repeated. Then you'll die in the drop of a hat, or in this case, a drop of a net. Now, if you excuse me, I have some errands to run, and it'll be a long drive to do so, so get a good look at me now. Next time you'll see me, you'll be a pincushion. As Lloyd started towards his window entry, Elmer released a plaintive cry. Wait, before you leave, I need to ask you something. Lloyd stopped, pondering the possibilities of addressing Elmer's plea. With a shrug, he concluded, I suppose I'm in no hurry. What is it you'd like to know? Why leave us hanging like a pig on a meat hook? You're a murderer, for crying out loud. Wouldn't you want to murder us like all your other victims? Wouldn't you want to take us out by hand? Disdain swirled in every shadow drawn on Dale's countenance. Lloyd echoed Dale's expression expertly. What do you think I am? Some sort of uncourteous monster? No, sir, I live and kill by a particular code, one which I plan on following till death. I only kill crows. What does that mean? Elmer tried, but Lloyd had already vacated the hotel's premises. Despite Lloyd's absence, his voice lingered within Elmer's ears, repetitive as the dripping ceiling. I only kill crows. I only kill crows. I only kill crows. Hey, Elmer, did you hear me? Dale said, slapping Elmer across the scalp. What are you on about? I said I got a plan, and we gotta act now before the rope gets any weaker. Elmer squinted into the abyss. The drop must have doubled in length, and the wooden spikes tripled in sharpness since its last viewing, and his stomach dropped every inch down. Well, go ahead, Dale. Why ain't you edifying me? 'Cause you ain't listening. You know what? Never mind. Not enough time for this. Just follow my lead, all right? Ready? Forward. Dale scrambled over Elmer to push his body as close as feasibly possible to the single yard of floor inside the room's perimeter. Backward! Dale leaned backwards. The transition from front to back was long and sloppy. The net hardly swayed an inch. Forward! Backwards! Elmer caught on to Dale's routine quickly. This time the net fluttered as limp as a flag in the unmoving wind. Miniature ceiling crumbs sprinkled into the net and down the void. The splash was never heard. Forward! Backward! Now Elmer joined in on the chant. Forward! Backward! They rocked like a fishing vessel sailing the high seas. Forward! Backward! The two swung higher than a kid on the playground. Forward! Backward! Dale's plan was to be completed any second now. Forward! Back! Both choked on their words as the net snapped mid-swing, lunging Dale and Elmer further than ever before. The two splatted against the wall and thumped onto the floor with enough force to leave a dark imprint upon their landing location. Before Dale was provided the chance to regain his breath, before realizing he was breathless to begin with, Elmer seized him by the wrist and whipped him through the southern door and towards the window they entered from. Come on, we gotta catch Lloyd before he gets away, Elmer shouted, hurtling through the window frame and onto the fire escape. The moment his feet contacted the fire escape's metal grating, however, all velocity was lost. What are you doing? Dale hissed, joining Elmer on the porch. Neither bothered descending the escape's rustic staircase to ground level. He and Elmer resided one flight above the alleyway while panting. We gotta catch him. Look around, Dale. Lloyd's gone, Elmer said under his breath while leaning against the fire escape's railing. We lost him, and this time we don't got Freddy to find him for us. Dale pressed his back against Hotel Skelter's exterior brick wall. Well, darn. Maybe we could wait for him to come back, or maybe... His sentence died with the suddenness of a suffocating ember. He rubbed his eyes and stared into Hotel Skelter's neighboring building, directly across from him. There he saw another second-story window, and inside the window was another Dale staring directly back at him. What if someone else turns up here before Lloyd gets back? Two murderer suspects hanging out in a murder hotel with a murder victim in it. The paper boys will become millionaires with that headline, Elmer said. At least we managed to piss him off. Before Elmer responded, the homeless man from below shouted, Hey, Bozo, watch your driving, why don't you? This captured both their attention. A baby blue pickup truck screamed to a halt at the corner where alleyway became street. Lloyd hopped from the driver's side and began transferring the contents of a nearby tin trash bin into his truck bed. He worked one armful at a time until an even layer of moldy food, broken dishes, soggy boxes, crumpled newspapers, and every other flavor of rat food was piled into the back. "What do we do?" Dale asked. Lloyd re-entered his truck and began cruising to the alleyway's opposite end. "He don't show no signs of stopping." "There ain't a chance we'll catch up to him, neither. There ain't enough time to run down the stairs, and Elmer's entire being soon brightened with epiphany, and his eyes dug into Dale's soul. What if he jump? Dale's head was shaking, yet a confident yes left his mouth. Before indecision began climbing Dale's throat, Elmer clutched his hand and threw a leg over the fire escape's railing. "Then jump on 3. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi." For a split second, Dale felt nothing but gravity acting upon him. It wasn't necessarily a falling sensation as much as a sinking one, as though he were thrown overboard from some vessel into the raging Pacific, with a cannon strapped to his boots. "We ain't gonna make it into the back of Lloyd's truck." This gloomy partiality refused to be shaken from Dale's mind as he descended through the air. "His truck's gonna pass. We're gonna hit the pavement. We're gonna splat. Our legs are gonna break. And we're gonna die."